Hi guys, good morning. This is Dan. Welcome to Engelgeist. For those of you that are new, welcome. For those of you that are returning, welcome back. For those of you that support me over on Patreon, thank you so very much. I really appreciate your support. This is the daily forecast for Monday, March 15th. It is early, squirrely early. We've just had the new moon in Pisces and daylight savings. I guess we set back? Or no, we sprang forward? We sprang forward because we're going into spring. So we sprang forward, so we lost an hour, but I'm up super early doing this, so none of that really matters. But anyways, please look at the video description so that you can learn about the sort of rules and house regulations, things like that I want you to know as a new viewer, or even as a returning viewer. It always helps to know how you can support the channel and what the purpose of these readings are. All of that is included in the video description, so please check that out. We're going to get right into this. This reading is intended originally for the 15th of March, but it's also available to you whenever you see it. So take the message as it comes, not necessarily when it's intended. For those of you that watch regularly, we're going to build upon the energy that we have seen in previous readings and kind of what's going on, the themes that we see and stuff like that. At the end of this reading, there will be a weekly reading. This is the Sunday reading that I generally refer to as the underpinning energy. That will be located in the lower left-hand corner of the screen. You can always tap and watch that just to kind of see what's sort of playing out behind the scenes underneath these cards that you're seeing each day. All right? So let's get into this and see what the cards want us to know or what information might aid us or we need to be aware of for the 15th of March. I can't believe March is already halfway over. That's crazy. Okay. All right. We've got the Emperor here. I'm not mad at this card at all. It's card number 4, which is about stability, strength, structure, keeping things calm, cool, and collected. Let me get a look at him. Where are my glasses? Hold on one second. There's a lot going on with him right now. All right. So first off, like the tree out of the mouth speaks to, I feel like our communication enables growth for us, like right out of the gate with those branches stemming out of his mouth. Like how we communicate, when we communicate is going to be key on this day. The Emperor always sort of represents like a kind of benevolent father, right? He's not the easiest guy to impress, but once we impress him, he sort of rewards us fairly, justly. There's a lot of validation that can come from the Emperor. The Emperor can represent like sort of taking maybe the longer, harder road, but doing it in a very right way. That's sort of his energy. He requests and requires us to not cut corners, to really show up and be who we are, be present, be accountable, be responsible for basically our part in things, how we assist people, what we expect of ourselves and others, all of that sort of stuff. I love him in the sense that there's a couple different things. One is I love these branches coming out of his mouth because this totally takes me to this place of how we communicate with others is going to be key. We want to be communicating from that place of authority and benevolence, which is a fine line. We don't want to come off like a know-it-all, but the Emperor's not a know-it-all, even though he does know it all, right? What we know to be true is indeed valid and our truth, but there's a way to share it in a way that gives us like a sense of authority and sort of structure, and allows for growth. That's these branches, right? To me, not necessarily intimidation or alienation or putting people off with what we have to say. Right? So being conscious of how we communicate today. And communication isn't necessarily an Emperor trait, but these branches have really got my attention this morning. The other thing is this castle on his head shows sort of his authority, royalty, his home, his power, the structure of that power, the intelligence that he has, the intelligence that we may possess also, that we utilize within that communication to kind of get the things that we need done or the reactions that we need from people to sort of transpire. There's a way to, I don't want to say manipulate because that sounds kind of bad, but there is a way to kind of work this situation with a certain amount of finesse and expertise today that will pay us or reward us finely or very well. Does that make sense? Now, if we are being called to rise to the emperor's request, like maybe life is asking us to show up in a way that we are fearful we can't, right? Or that we are feeling challenged by life. Remember, we have from Sunday's reading that Nine of Pentacles. So we have all of the skills and everything that we need. She's actually sort of a very feminine version at a smaller scale of the emperor in a sense. She has all of the skill set, the assets, both physical, right? Because she's Pentacles, so she has the sort of means to make things happen. This emperor is a step beyond that, right? So when I couple these two together for this day, it feels like a very empowered day. So if we're being asked to step up into the emperor's shoes, or the emperor is, say, a boss that's asking us to get this report on our desk by today at 5 o'clock, there's a way to do that successfully for us today. But he's all about doing the right things sort of with, what's the word? With like a sort of an honesty, with a sort of a vigilance. He represents all of those sort of good qualities. Like he's a fair and honest ruler, right? So he expects very high expectations either of us or we expect it of others, but we also don't want to sort of alienate or push people out as we're expecting that, right? There's a way to assist them. Part of the assistance too, or why I feel that, is all of this like sort of, brocade floral décolletage thing going on. It's very decadent and beautiful and adorned. And I love that, right? We understand and appreciate the things that we have today as the emperor, or we should at least. If we're not seeing it, we need to begin to see it. And then we need to begin to communicate it. And we need to keep those benefits and those positives in our mind. That is also this castle here, which is our strength, our home, our solid foundation. Emperor is associated with the sign of Aries, which would be about taking action, sometimes assertive action, like moving quickly. So some of you might have to move fairly quickly on something, right? Well, each one of you, it might be something different, but as long as you're measured and fair in your movement, in your choices, you're going to be fine. And when I look at this coupled with that Nine of Pentacles, it feels like plans could be in the works for you as far as changes of expansion, ideas of different roads we may want to take, new plans of where it is we want to go. The Emperor could be asking us to sort of step up to the plate in some way in our life and start to, live up to our true potential, right? Or we could be asking that of others. But we have to do it in a way that's fair and benevolent and kind, right? We have to remember, sort of, to me, sometimes the Emperor can also represent remembering the power that we wield, the influence and the sway that we possess, and the gift that is, right? Okay, so let's see what the Oracle card is. And remember, too, that grounding stone for this week is love. So we need to also stay in that love. He's probably not the most like lovey-dovey card, I will say that. He's more of a detached love, but there's still a love and an appreciation that comes from the Emperor from a job well done. It's always sort of not the easiest of jobs, let's say that. All right, so we've got my dear friend. It's interesting when I look at these two. The branches are looking like the antlers on the deer to me. And I almost feel like, and I don't know why, I just want to tell this story, so I'm just going to go with it. In my dear friend, I feel like there could be a separation of some sort coming in a relationship between you and another person that is important to you. The reason why I feel that is this deer is pointing away from the Emperor. There might be a time or a period where right now is not the time for the two of you to be connected. I don't necessarily know that this is a romantic relationship, but this could be a significant relationship. We might be making a decision, a hard thought through decision around where and when we can be in the in connection to this said person, right? Each one of you, this person could be somebody different. It could be somebody romantic. It could be a family member. It could be a coworker. It's somebody that you interact with, that there is an appreciation. There is a connection, right? The connection I see in the antlers and in the communication of the branches, right? There's a similarity here between these two. It's almost like this feeling of when it's good, but when it's bad, it's not good, right? And part of the reason why I get that too is because with this my dear friend card, she's in the snow. There's something maybe with this person that is chilly, frosty, can at times maybe rub you the wrong way. Or you guys may have things in common, but you don't always see things exactly clearly. Does that make sense? And I feel like she needs to depart, or this person needs to depart from our lives, whether we make that choice or they make that choice for us. And I don't know why. Maybe that is only for one of you specifically who watches this video, but that's definitely sort of the message that I'm getting from this. It's almost like this idea that we can love people from afar, right? We can love them and support them, but we don't have to interact with them daily, especially if that interaction or harm is not living up to our standards or is causing us pain and sadness, right? If maybe, sometimes I'm just using this as an example. Say we have two sisters involved, right? Say these are two sisters. One maybe being the older, more authoritative sister. You may love your younger sister, but in some way you might judge her free spirit or her, the way she goes about things, because it's not as methodical or as planned out as you are. And although you might maybe see yourself as being more successful, she has her own successes. And let me tell you, that judgment that she feels, I feel like is this snow that she's caught in, right? It's an interesting, and that's just one sort of example of how this is sort of playing out to me today. Now, my dear friend also it signifies that this person is dear to us, right? This is 47, which would be 7 and 4 is 11, right? So this is a master number. This would be a significant relationship. This could be some sort of I don't want to say soulmate. Well, I will say soulmate relationship. We can have soulmates that are members of our family. We can have soulmates that are good friends that we're connected to for many years and then we fall apart. We can have soulmates that we're in love with, right? A soulmate doesn't necessarily have to be a romantic interest. A soulmate can be somebody that is there to teach us, to evolve us in some way. And I feel like both of these two cards evolve each other in different ways. They almost have, like, where the Emperor is firm, embellished, and sort of successful and stoic in a way, right? Stable. My dear friend, the girl on this deer feels wild to me. She feels like she's more impulsive. She feels like she maybe makes decisions more from the heart than, say, the head, where the Emperor would be more from the brain, right? And so although they are connected or similar in some ways, they're very different in how they operate. And sometimes that difference can cause maybe sadness or pain between the two of these, right? This being an 11, though, I think that this is a significant relationship. And remember that stone this week is about love. So finding that love for that person, even if they're not necessarily in your day-to-day life, or they can't be for some reason, is not going to harm or hurt anything. To treat that relationship, if you're more on the side of the Emperor side of things, where you might be more of the authority or the older sibling or the boss or the one in charge, you might have to be cautious about how you speak with this person or interact with this person to gain better results, right? And if you're on the side of my dear friend, I kind of get a feeling you might need to listen a little bit. I just sort of feel like she's a wild spirit to me as she's riding on that elk through the snow. I know that sounds crazy, but I feel like she's almost somebody that maybe can't be tamed. I feel like she's somebody that maybe things fly out of her mouth that can be maybe impulsive and cause pain in others. And she doesn't mean it. She doesn't feel like a bad person to me. She just feels like she operates differently than this Emperor. Does that make sense? So let's look at what she has to say. What was it, 47? 47, my dear friend. Lifelong friendship, dependability, and solidarity. If you recall the card The Journey, you may recognize a similar scene here with a woman riding a deer, but this time both the woman and the deer are much older. Time has passed and the two are still companions. They have seen many seasons together, many sunny joys and cold sorrows. Their wisdom has grown, but like the graceful antlers, the woman holds for comfort. The deer supports her, and she returns a loving touch to her dear friend. Now, I like how it says that this person has been with us maybe through, wait, what does it say? Sorry, I'm listening to the dog snore. It says, but this time, both the woman and the deer are much older. Time has passed, and the two are still companions. And I feel like the two that she's talking about is not the woman and the deer, but the woman and the emperor. You two may still be connected in a very deep and profound way, even if you're not necessarily speaking or communicating at this time. But there's still something precious between the two of you, something connected. That's the 11 number of my dear friend. And I feel like you both kind of have the possibility and the ability to teach each other sort of what the other one is missing ultimately, even if that's sort of difficult for you to see, feel, or understand, depending on which side of this reading you sit on. So let's see what the grounding stone is. The grounding stone is on Tiger's Eye, and the word is forgive. Now, when I think about forgive in this scenario, because I don't know why this is playing out like a relationship thing, because this is not normally how my cards play out, but each one of you may have a different relationship that varies due to the person. This idea of forgiveness is, do we need to forgive ourselves? Do we need to forgive the person that we're involved with, right? But also forgiveness is more for ourselves than for someone else, right? And in forgiveness, that doesn't necessarily mean that we have to be in contact with them or allow them in. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't be. I'm just saying that if these two are headed in different directions, there's a way for both of them to respect and honor the directions that they're both heading in, to forgive one another, and to be okay and to still be connected, to still love one another, even if they don't see eye to eye. Does that make sense? And that's what keeps it balanced in that love that we have to stay also grounded in all of this, is our actions should be based in love and forgiveness. So that is your reading for the day. I hope that makes sense, guys. Please leave me a comment on this one, because this story feels rather specific versus more broad spectrum. So I hope that I'm accurate and that somebody can relate to this. If not, I don't know who this is for. So I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Please hit the thumbs up button and hit subscribe. I look forward to seeing you guys soon, and take care. Thanks so much for tuning in. Bye-bye.